Okay, to be uncomplicated, I just had recorded a video about this man, Mike Smith, and his relationship with Hollywood and PSYOP, and having a broken back that ended up being directly correlated to the child abuse, which is tied to Hollywood. So let's call that spiritual witting. So I'm going to transition now to a current news. So be advised, this is like Fox News. So I'm going to let this play, but to set it up, this man is out. He's coming out. There's a few things to know. This guy's coming out as a KGB agent with an American accent, and it's kind of like the kind of guy that you want to catch and put in jail, who was the Navy guy who sold the secrets. Well, this was his boss, and he's coming out now to talk overtly. And the people on Fox now, because it's Russia is okay time, PSYOP wise, are admiring this in conversationalese with this man who's a KGB agent. And I'm going to let it play, but I'm also going to tell you how he is just unwitting. So here we go.
Yeah, I'm reasonably sure that's in a different fashion. You know, the illegals in the KGB era were the elite of the elite. You know, there
It's
was
either him or him.
a mystique about us.
Chinese guys, KGB
we
elite.
were the most highly trained, and there were very few of us. But you know, to find us was nearly impossible. Nowadays, I can guarantee you there are more Russian agents in this country and in what.
Now, I just want to lay something out for you. Imagine this guy, you meet him somewhere at the airport, he's coming to check you out, or hey, whatever. I'm just saying, he's in America now, he's been nativized, he's day to day US, and he's going to describe these lots of them that are all over America. You know, so you could say the Russians made this investment of their krupels or their Rubicons, whatever the hell their money is, trying to get ahead. So, oh, we'll send them to the colleges and we'll warp, you know, we will, whatever the proposed education system is, which apparently they're good at, because look at us. But I'm just going to try and get you ahead of this guy who thinks he's ahead of everybody else.
In Europe than there have ever been, simply because it's possible, right? The world is much more open, and during the Cold War, the Soviet Union was closed, and there wasn't a whole lot of commercial interaction and so forth. Nowadays we have.
The other thing I'd like to say is, you know, there's a white-hatted side to the CIA that I happen to know about personally, because when I worked in the Army, I got into what's known as the black world. And suffice to say that there's a special relationship between the white hat of the CIA that Bush ran and the relationship with the unit that I was in, so that everybody was sensitized to what the roles and missions were in the event that, like, another embassy problem would occur. So everybody had that in the back of their head. The true Americans, that they sent these case officers in training through the military side as an orientation, and I was on the military side. So I happen to know that we're as good as them as far as his crap on, oh, the Russians are all over America and we don't know what we're doing. He's a moron at that point. I'm just saying that from my professional understanding is a freaking smarter than this moron is. You don't understand what freedom's all about, sir. Like, your anthem ain't shit. Okay? I know we wrote about war, and, you know, God help, you know, that. Because America's, you want to play that, you play it. But we're being played. So, I don't want to get angry. I just want to continue to illuminate you on what this guy thinks he knows.
students in this country, we have businessmen and so forth.
True.
And
Thank
a
you.
country like Russia, they pretty much know who's going abroad and why they're going and where they're going. And
Wow.
I guarantee you, a lot of them are talked to by Russian espionage agencies and ask, can you help us out?
Gee,
So what
we
you
might
wind
do
up
that
is
too.
a sort of a small army of would-be spies who are not well trained, but can be successful. Like for instance, the redheaded lady Butina, who did reasonably well. I mean, she got she befriended folks in the National Rifle Association,
Ooh,
but
whoa,
she
whoa,
was a
whoa,
great
whoa, whoa,
amateur.
whoa.
She
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. She did reasonably well because she befriended folks in the National Rifle Association. Like, so he's bottom up now. He's like the ant who's down there with a red coat in the intel world. Like, they really knew who he was. He's lucky he's still around, and why wouldn't you? He's not a bad guy. There's no reason to kill this man. He's coming out now. He's on Fox, so why not? But I'm telling you, to get ahead of him, let's get promoted to Oliver North. And Oliver North was given the NRA, and you got to go up to George Bush and guns for coke. Where does this guy fit in the guns for coke war? He is admiring some red-headed Russian and then dismissing her because she used social media. We don't operate like that. All right, congratulations. You got a cell phone? It's like, come on, come on. So we'll listen to him in a minute.
communicated via social media. There was no training.
Ah,
Uh, Interesting, Jack.
there was no
As
training.
it pertains to
He's
both
on
Ukraine
social
and the
media.
United States, then, if the intel networks for Russia are so robust, then
He admires
was
that.
intelligence given to Putin about how easy it would be to go into Ukraine, or
So-
did he disregard it, or
Okay,
did they
so-
get it wrong?
Can I explain to you that reincarnation means born again? So Russia, as a piece of the earth, has been managed at an ascended level, with sort of a royal side that's illuminated, that's tied to the queen, and they get schwacked, and the first cousins or whatever take over, and they got it. So since that place is locked in, Solomon, in that dwelling, you've got to go back predecessorally to Stalin, personality who went to a grave, but then his high self got into the orbit and said, hey, I'm still the Russian guy. So there can be an inner life where, like, there's the real Putin who's floating along, and then they soul swap, which they did. So the current Putin personality is still there, kind of, even though who the hell knows what the complications are, but in essence, to peel it down for you, you've got a reincarnation of Stalin running around the top of Russia now, and the Ark of the Covenant on the Ukraine side, where the CFR meets and they all know each other, but he's not portraying it this way. He's showing the Russian intelligence service knowing very well what goes on in the Ukraine. Okay, yeah, they've got a military arm called the GRU. That's the equivalent of our, but they're overly militarized as far as their extension to operate, because they're not covert. They're the high speed. Yeah, they can, that's the GRU. The KGB is another layer in. So we got the CIA, that's the equivalent, blah, blah, blah.
What happened there?
Okay. Let me tell you, there is no way that Russian intelligence didn't know in great detail what Russia would be facing. Not so much the FSB, but the military intelligence of Russia is one of the best.
That's the GRU.
They're not really that well known, but they are.
So they be fighting themselves.
The GRU and even the FSB and the SVR, the other two agencies, I guarantee you they had insiders in Ukraine, lots of them. There's no way
So
that
you've seen on YouTube now. There's videos of a big studio-like invasion happening in Ukraine to project it all out for everybody else. So big investment to do all that, and you have to ask yourself, what are the controllers doing at the top, and where is the which way is the cataclysm going from here, from the controllers at the top right now, as we transition from the dark to the light.
they didn't know that there's an intrinsic hatred for everything Russian amongst Ukrainians. There's no way they didn't know that. So there's two choices here. Either they were afraid to tell, or they did tell and Putin just dismissed it. It could be a mixture of both, because Vladimir Putin had a history, a long history, knowing that he is the smartest man in the room, and just like ignoring the advice from his people. And on the other hand, if you know that you get punished for giving bad news, then you just maybe not talking about it.
Jack, I have to ask just a question that I have. How does a former KGB spy end up in the United States? And what do you make of what Russia is doing now?
Well, I wound up here like everybody else. I got on a plane and eventually got off a plane. And the reason that I was sent to the U.S. was my language ability and overall ability.
Look, and then he retires and he's on Fox News now. Like, what are they going to do? Come kill him?
In enemy territory. Now, what was the second part of the question?
Yeah, so I'm getting a little
does that
bit
mean now you're an American citizen? Did you give up your allegiance to Russia and say I want to be in the United States, or how does that
work?
work?
Oh my Lord! Of course,
Yeah.
There's only one answer to that question. I am today legally, intellectually, and emotionally an American. I was born in Germany.
Because
I don't consider myself German anymore.
because
it was a long way to get there, but
you see how Humpty Dumpty, and he's, in the end, he wants to be on our side. And so he's crediting them as being so flippin' advanced. He doesn't know shit about Bush, but he wants to come to America from Germany just to catch up. Because, you got that whole Henry Kissinger part. So I don't want to make this too long. I just want to let you know that everything's going to be okay. Wars are made to come to an end. And then we'll just start to enjoy peace and enjoy our day. I enjoy my day every day, thoroughly. I happen to be an Intel guy, and I'm drawn to this Intel stuff, even though it was on the news. And I'll give the question to B at the end, where the guy was asking the other guy about, hey, how the hell were you able to leave Russia? Well, it's complicated. They're all kind of working together to the extent that he knows he's not going to get shot. He must, because he testifies to how damn good the place is. And I can't draw you an equivalent in truth unless he flew back to Russia again on a trip. He should be able to with no problems, without getting, meat lockered. And, if you want to use Edward Snowden as some kind of comparison, which I don't, because Snowden was just on the IT side of our collection capability. And there was an abuse of, if you want to call it an abuse, of that. Because it went quantum real fast about what we were doing with all that. Everybody kind of gets born into their role, and Snowden's a good example. He happened to, it's kind of like a Bill Gates thing. He happens to be the guy who was the guy at the thing, and he falls into contracting. He's got the IT skills and a little command and control with the IT, and it all goes to the freaking AT&T cell phone collection world, and he's got enough to contract through it gets the scope of what's going on and goes, man, so he's got to play a role. And he decides he's going to be exported to Russia, because where else is he going to go? He thinks he can't blow the whistle. I don't know. I honestly can't speak for him. I know I'm a Statue of Liberty guy, so when I talk to somebody, they both know that. Every job I ever had in the military, there was no question about where the Statue of Liberty was, and that nobody was ever going to take it out. That was my mindset. The closest we were ever going to get was Planet of the Apes, and that was like unthinkable. But anything could happen. It's just a statue. Statues get destroyed, but we still have the pyramids. Through all the distant deluge and many things that happen, you have three pyramids. There are three primary sets, I guess, between Giza and the three mesas and the one in Mexico that get called out. And it's having some history to them, and certainly connectivity to inner Earth. So this was mainly a media-related thing that was tied to intelligence, and I wanted to illuminate you past this Russian intelligence guy. And I'm not calling him an amateur, and I'm a professional, but I don't get paid for it. So how about that for a new definition? Because amateurs don't get paid because they're amateurs. Truly, that's the way the rules are supposed to be. Amateurs, you don't get paid. There's one step away to true competition. Because we all know, isn't it so interesting that, because we've lived through it, that at the college level, number one, you could regress back to feel the energy of being 19 again. That's number one. And number two, technically, they're supposed to be going to school, and they want to play for their school and their team and their allegiance, and so the competition is should be tied to that. So the more pure that it was left, the better, because you don't want the money. At least the money appears to be out. Scholarship assistance, and goodness knows it gives people that their parents don't have the money. So all the stories about how education proceeded now, and then you look at how that's taken advantage of by the person who's going for the ride, and they can ride any way they want if they're good at their sport. And look at the ones that choose to be something going on with having in their hip pocket in case the primary means of income goes away. And look at the ones who take care of their mothers when they get it. And look at guys like Barry Sanders that just buys houses for people. And that man defied gravity. He's Michael Jordan-esque, Barry Sanders. And he'd do it all the time. What a great guy. I'm just thinking out loud about stars, true stars. And once you got the golden rule figured out and integrate that into your life, then you're a star. Some make it on TV. He had his relationship with his dad, and he was a lion, Barry Sanders. He brought him into that stadium all by himself, and he got to play indoors on that hard crap that hurts to run on. But I guess you can really move, because that guy could make some moves. Who was it? Rondé Barber, I think. Knew he was in trouble when Barry Sanders was coming to town. Rondé Barber knew what he was doing. All right. Peace.